Okay, we're continuing in Shana Kudim Perek Hey. V'nimtza sheyesh kan gimel minei oros. Turns out that there are three different types of oros that we're speaking about. Hechad hu or rishon shebekulam nikra kudim kana. The first one is or rishon, which is called a kudim, which is the or that came out of the path for the first time. Habeis hu rishimo shenishon zeh or sheba derech yasha. And the second type of or is a rishimo, an imprint that was left from this type of or, this or yasha that came out of the path. V'hu rachmim. V'gimel hu or haba derech aliyas haspheres. Shaz hu or derech hacharayim shudim. And then the third one is light that comes when the spheres are going back up into the path, and the light that comes down at that time is called din. Is a type of din. It's sug is a type of its light is a type of din. It's not an or of rachman. V'nei bevo ha'or ha'gimel hazeh shu din. Now, when this third light comes down from the peh, from inside, from Adam Kadmon, comes down through the spheres, and this type of light is din. It hits the or rishimo, it hits the imprint of the or harachamim that was left from the original light. And then the two lights hit each other, the light that's coming down from the matzio and the light that's left behind, the rishimo, they hit each other. Since they're two opposites. Because one is or yashar, which is rachman, and one is or choser and din. And this one, meaning the orishimo, is desired to go up. There is a desire to go up. Even though it doesn't actually go up, its desire is to go up. So here we have a few very important and difficult points. One is we seem to be sometimes referring, here we say that the or yasha is the or that goes out of the peh and down, and the or choser is the or that goes back into the peh. And at this point we seem to be saying the opposite. At this point we seem to be saying that the or rishimo, which is a type of or yasha, which is or that comes out of the peh and it seems to be going down, now has a desire to go back up into the peh. And that would apparently be what we explained or choser to be. Or choser to be the light that's going back into the peh. So the answer to this, the explanation for this, is really that or yasha and or choser is really the hashpa from the matzia, from the Adam Kadmon, that's coming down into the lower spheres, into the spheres of the peh, or the rishimos of the kiyum. The difference is that or yasha, there's always light coming from Adam Kadmon. Though sometimes the light that comes from Adam Kadmon is coming through a weak connection or through a bad connection, and that's when the spheres are turning. The spheres themselves are turning to go back into the peh. The light that's coming out of the peh to be mashpia to the netzalim is a type of light that's coming through din, because coming through all the acharayim, since all of the spheres are facing up to go back into the peh, and the acharayim is facing back down. When the or comes out of the matzio from the Adam Kadmon down into the bria, into the netzalim, it passes through the acharayim of all the spheres. That's why the or that comes out of Adam Kadmon when the spheres are coming up into the peh is called or choser. And the or that's coming out of Adam Kadmon when the spheres are coming down, that's called or yasha. So this explains why we're calling here the or yasha, the rishimo, which is a type of or yasha. We're calling it. We're terming that it has a desire. Telling that it has a desire to go back up into the peh, and that would seem to be only shaykh by or choser. We said or choser, its inyan is to go to get shlemus for itself, personal shlemus, whereas or yasha is coming to be mashpia. That's the inyan of or yasha. And here we seem to see the opposite. So based on what we explained, that or yasha and or choser is not really the ors themselves of the akudim. We're not defining the ors themselves of the akudim, whether they're turning up or turning down. That's not what is or yasha and is or choser. Or yasha and or choser itself is the or that's coming from the matil through these spheres. And if these spheres are facing up to go back into the peh, then the or that comes down from the matil, from Adam Kadmon, is going to be called or choser, and it's going to be the Bechinas Din. And if the ors are coming down to the peh, if they're coming to out of the peh, and they're coming to be mashpia, then the or that comes out of Adam Kadmon is or of Rachman. So those are the two types of ors that we have. So now we have a batisha, a hitting of the ors of Rishima. The Rishima is an imprint of the or Rachmin, the original or that came from Adam Kadmon that was nishba into the spheres. It left an imprint where it was, and when the main or goes back into the peh, when the spheres themselves start going back into the peh, they leave an imprint of this or, of or Rachmin. Now, this or Rachmin is going to be hitting up with the or choser. The or Rachmin, we said, is hashpa from Adam Kadmon, is part of the hashpa from Adam Kadmon when the Adam Kadmon was mashpia to the spheres, when the spheres were intending to be mashpia down. So this is a very strong hashpa from Adam Kadmon that was left. A hashpa of derech Rachmin. And now we're getting hashpa from Bechinas Din. Because now the spheres are going back, there's still hashpa from Adam Kadmon, but it's Bechinas Din. So this hashpa from Bechinas Din is being makir with a previous hashpa from Bechinas Rachman, which was Rishima. And these two hashpas are being makir one the next, and they make batishas. They hit each other and they're going to make sparks. We're going to see they're going to make nitzotzos that are going to make the gemara keli. They're going to make the finalization of the kli. Okay, the or gimel uchafetz leirid, and the third type of or is or gimel uchafetz leirid. And the third type of or has a desire to go back down. Nimtza she'inam shavim. Sorry. I'm just going to go back a little bit. Even though the Rishima, we said, it doesn't go back up mamash, still has a desire to be medamik itself and to be mekabel from the original or that's not going back into the thing. And the third type of or wants to go down. So this is the or choser, we said, which is a shpa from the matzah. The nimtza she'enu shavim b'tiva. Now the or shlishi, which is the or that's now coming down from the matzah, is hitting against the or sheni, which is the rishima left from the or yosha. And they hit each other. And then they hit each other. The or rishimo and or chosen hit each other. Since they're not the same type of or, they hit each other and they make batishas. They make sparks. And then nitzotzos fall out from this clash of ors, and these nitzotzos, the nitzotzos come out from the or that's coming out, which is din, and it's worse than or rishima. And now we have a third type of light, which is nitzotzos. Nitzotzos basically were created from the hitting of the or rishima with the or choser. These create the nitzotzos that are going to finalize the kli. Now we have four types of or, which is the or yasha, the rishimo left from the or yasha, the or choser, and the nitzotzos that came about from the hitting of the rishimo with the or choser. And this is the secret, the inyan of the four aspects of tamim and nekudos, tagim and osios, the musical notes, the nekudos, the vowels, the crowns on top of the letters, and the letters themselves. Shahayu kulam klulim be'ila akudim, which were all included in these oros akudim. And this is how they match up. This is how the four types of oros that we mentioned before match up to tamim, to tanta, tamim, nekudos, tagim and osios. Hor Rishon, Tamim, the Or Rishon is Tamim, the Or Rishon that came out of the peh, the first light that came out of the peh down up to the chazadot of the tibur of Adam Kadmon is called Tami. And the Acharan, when the Or starts turning back to go back into the peh, that's already Nekudos. Nekudos have all Bechinas Din, because Nekudos are always Bechinas Din. That's the general principle. Bechinas Din we're going to see in a couple places that Nekudos is Bechinas Din. But Orishimo Tagim, and Orishimo is Tagim on top of those, the crowns on top of those. Yes. V'nitzotos hanoflos ayidei akos oros sham Nekudos v'Tagim zevazek kinizka hu osros. And the light, the nitzotos, sparks that fell through the hitting of the lights, from the hitting of the nekudos, which was orchosa, and the tagim, which was the rishimo zebazeh, they hit each other. That this made the nitzotos, which is the bechina of osios, when we relate the main four ors of olam hakudim to the four bechinas tata, and from these nitzotos, the finalization of the kli is going to be created. The kli is going to be finalized through these nitzotos. Natsati Kosov. I found written, Afal pi shel b'yarnu she'in ba'olam ha'kudim rak b'chinas kli echad, v'mikanya hayos lekol or kli echad. So above it said, we said that all Hakudim is only one Bechinas Kli, and here we seem to see that there are many Kelim, there are many Nitzotos, there are many, each sphere seems to be leaving a Kli. I'm a Jewish Mati that explains each of them. It's a different, we're not going to learn about it, it's in Otzros Chaim, it explains the answer to this problem. Very nisbar, Bechinas Kelim eich nasa shehu min hakos b'betishas niska. And now we explained already how the Kli is finalized through the hitting of the Or Harishimo with the Or Chosa, making the sparks, and the sparks going to the Kli. Now, now it seems that I heard, this is Rav Chaim Vital speaking, everything we learn here in the Otzros Chaim is the Arizal, but now Rav Chaim is like putting in his own words, because he has to tell you that he thinks that he heard from the Rav, from the Arizal. So, I think that I heard, or it seems that according to the way I understand or remember, that I heard from my Rebbe, the Arizal, there was already Kelim before the Nitzotos came out in the Olam Kudim. Because we said that it was the Or Avagas, the thicker type of Or that wasn't able to go back into the peh, that was left behind, and that was the Keli. So there already was a Bechina of Kli, even before the sparks came out, even before the Or Rishimo hit the Or Chosa. Just that these sparks that came about through the hitting of the Rishimo with the Or Chosa joined up with the Rishimo of the joined up with the Or Avagas, which is the real, the body of the Kli. And it's kind of like the sparks that later on we're going to see when we're going to speak about the Nefila of the Shira. So we're going to see that each one of the kin that went down into the lower worlds that broke and went down to the lower worlds went down with Rapach 288 sparks. These sparks gave them chiyus, gave them life, a certain type of life that enables them to continue to exist. So too here, the body of the Kli is the Or Havagas, and the lower type of Or that wasn't able to go back into the peh that we spoke about before, and the life force of the Kli, or a certain aspect of the life force of the Kli, is going to be these nitzotos that are really like the finalization of the Kli. Because everything in the world has, at least in our physical world, has a life force. There's no such thing as an object without rapach nitzotos. If it wouldn't really be able to exist properly, at least as a general rule. And everything, when the nitzotos go up out of the item, so Rav Masson says in Kutei Halachos, he speaks about this idea that the object will cease to exist or will break. It won't be a useful item anymore. This is because the whole purpose of our world, the whole purpose of our existence, at least at this point in time, is to be mevad nitzotzos, to lift up the nitzotzos that fell down to this world from the shvius hakelim, from every avera that a person does. When a person does an avera, what he does is he takes holy sparks of neshama, of kedusha, and he takes aspects of his own neshama or other parts of other types of neshamas, and he puts them down into this physical world. Now, when he does this, it makes it very difficult, and we have to afterwards rectify that by doing mitzvahs with items. And by doing mitzvahs, what we do is we release the nitzotzos that were brought into this world improperly, and we release them and we let them go back into their place, into the upper realms, and it perfects the upper realms, because the upper realms are lacking these sparks, so to speak, and these sparks have been stolen, in a sense, by averas and by other things, and they've been brought into this physical world when we do averas. And also, when Hashem created the world, Hashem made. We're going to learn soon about this concept, this idea, that Hashem created the world imperfect. He created the world with some of the sparks of kedusha that are necessary for the perfection of the upper worlds and for the influence of goodness and light to come into this world. He specifically wanted that it should be down in a lower world, and that we should have our job. We should have a job of fixing those lower worlds and bringing the sparks that were trapped in the lower worlds and bringing them up. This is Adam Rishon's job to do. By watching the garden and by davening, he was able to lift up the he was able to lift up the nitzotzos, but he didn't do it properly, and instead he even sinned. He did worse, and he took more nitzotzos and brought them into this world. And now we're left with a nice big job to do. We're going to learn, Be'ez Hashem, in the next chapter. We're actually going to learn about the Shvira, which is this aspect of Hashem creating the world with a work for us, with sparks that need to be lifted up. It's kind of like going into a room, dropping a lot of money, and then picking it all up. If you don't pick it up, then it's going to be left. Adam Rishon did not just didn't he pick it up, didn't he pick up the money the way he was supposed to? He dropped even more. And money is like sparks of kedusha, and just as a mashal, it's not that money is really sparks of kedusha, although there are sparks of kedusha in everything, and certainly money does sparks of kedusha. Otherwise, the money would have no value. There would be tremendous deflation if the sparks of kedusha were to leave the money, and then money would be worth nothing more than paper, or maybe less. So Adam Rishon did not do his job, and Adam Rishon made it even more work for us. But every time that we do a mitzvah, what we're doing is we're releasing sparks of kedusha that are trapped inside things. As I learn, the sefer. So there are nitzotzos that are inside the sefer that, in some aspect, I'm releasing them and letting them come back. And everything that a person does, especially in achila, in eating, and in other types of pleasure, the pleasure itself, inside the pleasure itself is the sparks of kedusha. And this explains why people have such a great desire to do averas, because really inside the pleasure that they can get from averas, there are sparks of kedusha. However, if they take them in the wrong way, if they take them for bad reasons, the person does averas, then what happens is he's taking these sparks of kedusha, which are dressed up inside of the pleasure, and he's bringing them and he's digging them deeper into the tumah. When a person does a mitzvah of the kedusha, so the sparks of kedusha are released and they go up into the proper place. This is also the Indian of Birkas and Nanim, why we make special brachos on when we get pleasure, because there's a special aspect of lifting up nitzotzos that in general that we speak about here. So again, we're probably going to touch upon these topics a lot later, but this just explains what the idea of the rapach nitzotzos are, the nitzotzos that are in every single kli, in the kelim that we're going to see later on, that fell down and went into the lower worlds. So who could do was the rapach nitzotzos shenishu b'kelim shalom hanakudim, kamo sheizbar lekam b'mkom. And this is like the rapach nitzotzos that were left in the kelim of all nakudim, of the world of nakudim, as we'll explain later on in the shar rapach nitzotzos. There's a shar. V'vayla zeh kirin izbar lamala ki kshaya ha'or chozer v'oler ha'inishar kli b'chinas ha'or v'agas shalom. And the proof for this, that there already was kelim in the previous stages before the mitzotzos came out, or before at least we spoke about the mitzotzos, and the mitzotzos are not the main kli. The mitzotzos are not, sparks are not vessels. Vessels are not sparks. The vessel itself is when the or goes back into the peh, it leaves an or avagas, a more physical, a more dark type of light. That is the vessel itself, the goof of the vessel. That's the way I like to be mechalek. And here it's like the sparks, a certain type of neshama, not the real neshama, but a certain type of chiyus of the vessel that's left. That's the rapach mitzotzos. You could imagine it kind of like a watch and a battery, where the watch is the kli itself, but it needs a battery in order to run, and that battery actually gives the chiyus to the object, and that battery is like the rapach mitzotzos. When that battery dies, so then the watch becomes not usable unless you either get replace the battery or something else like that. So that's the bechina of rapach mitzotzos.